Case study 2.5 looks at the origin and chemistry of fossil fuels. And this is fascinating because there's a great distinction here between natural gas, petroleum formed by one method, and coal formed by the other. So let's start by looking at petroleum and natural gas. And we know increasingly that these are formed within the same structures because particularly with the development of the extraction of petroleum and natural gas by fracking, both petroleum and natural gas come out of these deposits simultaneously. Well, what happened was hundreds of millions of years ago, as the biological engine of the ocean began to develop and these living organisms in the ocean evolved, they also deposited constantly organic material on the floor of the ocean. This was incorporated into the sand and the clay, and over time, over tens to hundreds of millions of years, this built up in sedimentary rock. And the increasing pressure and temperature created the natural gas and the petroleum that we know today. And quite often, many eras in the evolution of life systems on Earth, sea level was changing because the temperatures were warming and cooling. And so in many cases, while oil, petroleum, and natural gas were produced at the bottom of the ocean, that is no longer the ocean bottom, and you see these oil rigs that are pumping oil out of the ground by sending a tube all the way down into the domain of this oil and gas deposits. So natural gas and petroleum created at the bottom of the ocean over hundreds of millions of years. That's in sharp contrast to coal. Coal was actually formed on land by the conversion of organic material from trees, bushes, and so on that moved underground, and with increasing pressure and temperature, it evolved into the black coal, the high-density hard coal that we know of today. So coal is land-based, oil and natural gas is ocean-based in its formation. But the formation of petroleum, natural gas, and coal is also coupled directly to the global carbon cycle. And this is very interesting. Photosynthesis developed by using energy from the sun in combination with reactions within the leaves of these growing organic plants. And the critical chemical reaction is that carbon dioxide drawn directly out of the atmosphere, not carbon dioxide coming up through trunks of trees or the structure in flowers or bushes, but directly out of the atmosphere, combined with water coming out of the atmosphere, produces sugars. And these sugars are typically called glucose. And those sugars, of course, are used to sustain all living organisms on Earth, and the other product is oxygen. So oxygen is released to the atmosphere, and all of the oxygen that's present in the atmosphere today, that's 21% of the atmosphere, came from photosynthesis, directly from the yield of O2 in that reaction. All the organic material, including that buried for fossil fuels, came from the hydrocarbons produced by photosynthesis in the global carbon cycle. So just to track this in time, this is a very interesting point that the creation of fossil fuels, in this case petroleum, started about 350 million years ago and slowly built up over time until we got to a point about 5 million years ago when all of the fossil fuels that are present under the Earth's surface were in place. So this took place over about 350 million years, ending 5 million years ago.